Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. We've made it to week 2 of the NFL football season. It's We Talking About Sports. We're here for another Sunday sit down. It's the full crew for a second consecutive week. We haven't hit a bye week yet, so we're all good here. 100% attendance. I like it. Fellas, what's up? Justin, you're the one that's right below me. Pause. What's going on here?
I'm just happy to make it to week 2. All four of us, the four horsemen, all of us here, off a great Saturday slate of sports and combat fighting. Big names, big movement will be probably happening within the top 25. We saw Georgia in a struggle with Kentucky. We see Quinn Ewers go down, and the kid Arch Manning. I don't think we ever seen a Manning, last name Manning, run that fast before. 21 miles per hour he hit. Good to see.
Yeah, you guys put it on UTSA last night for sure. Ron, how's it going?
It's going well, man. I had a rough night last night. Got the coffee out right now.
There we go.
What does it say? What's the coffee mug say?
That first sip feeling. Nothing like it.
Hubby, there it is.
There we go.
No, man. Great Saturday night. Shout out to my uncle, Coach Nino. It's his birthday. We got together, watched the Canelo fight. Hell of a fight. I came home, got to watch the UFC before it ended. Great night of combat sports. Looking forward to a great week 2 of NFL. Sunday sit down here with the boys. Cheers.
Ben, I see a different setup for you. Looks like you might be somewhere else. So what's going on?
On the road.
We're in H-Town. We're at the Airbnb, potting from the Airbnb. True dedication. Can't have a bye week in week 2, right? We're not Florida State here. So out here in Houston, going to the game tonight, man. Sunday night football. We came out here for Mondo's bachelor party, so I'm here with some of the guys.
Shout out Mondo.
Yeah, did a little golfing yesterday, came back, ordered pizza, watched both fights. The Canelo fight and the UFC. Shit, fights ended pretty late, at 1:30 a.m. The O'Malley and Merab fight. So got to bed kind of late, overslept the London Derby this morning. Tottenham and Arsenal were playing. The guys were downstairs cooking already. I woke up like at 9 o'clock, but eager for today, boys. A lot of good football, a lot of survivor pick options, a lot of fantasy news with injuries. So excited to get into it all, figure stuff out, and get out of here.
Let's get it. Let's run it.
Let's get right into it. Let's look into the week 2 slate. I believe that's the first thing we have up here for you guys to look at. If you guys are with us today, thank you, everyone that's here this early. We already had a game kick off, and we'll get into it a little bit later with some Tua news. But Buffalo, Miami, they kicked off on Thursday. Buffalo took care of business on the road. They own Miami. I think they've won like the last 7 or 8 matchups in that little rivalry that they have going on in the AFC East. And then we have the slate here ahead for us. The Cowboys play the Saints, and Ben already talked about the Texans and the Bears. Any other matchups y'all are excited for, Ron and Ben and Justin?
Shit, really just the night game where the boys are going to be at. Nothing else really jumps off the screen to me. You would think Bengals and Chiefs, but the performance that the Bengals put up last week, I don't think that game's going to be competitive. So other than our team, the boys and the Texans, it's like a week 2 Texans teams, man. Like that's the highlight of the week to me.
I'm looking forward to that Lions and Bucks game. Both of those offenses put up points last week. I know the Buccaneers defensive backs are a little beat up. I think we'll see more points coming that way. And I want to see if J-Mo can repeat the week 1 performance, because if he does, people who, got him in the later rounds, they got a little sleeper heater on their hands.
For sure. J-Mo definitely showed some life last week, Alabama boy. Ben, any other matchup you're excited for other than the one that you're going to be in attendance there in Houston for?
No, yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that Detroit and Bucks game. Like Justin said, should be good. And also, honestly, I'm looking forward towards that Cardinals and Rams game.
Yeah,
maybe for fantasy purposes, right? Maybe drafted a little too many errors on the Cardinals this year throughout my leagues. But that's also a pick'em line. I know that we're going to get into some plays later, but that one kind of surprised me to see a pick'em line there with good division matchup early on.
Yeah, and we'll get into the injury report, but probably has something to do with the Rams and their offensive line. I think they're down to officially like 2 starters or something like that from what they started the season with. So they had a lot of guys go down in that matchup against the Lions that ended up going to overtime. I'm going to do you one better. I'm actually excited in terms of fantasy for this Giants and Commanders game. I think, both defenses are terrible. So hopefully, both offenses have some, have some luck. So if you have a Jaden Daniels, or you're somebody like me that drafted Neighbors pretty early, you can have a a little bounce back week. So yeah, I like this Commanders Giants game. Also, just a toilet bowl to see who's going to be worse, because I think that Commanders defense is going to be up there for being pretty bad. If you saw what the Bucs did to them, I know you guys were talking about that in that Bucs and Lions matchup. But yeah, pretty exciting matchup here for me. But let's go on to the injury report, and starting it off is Tua. Unfortunately, suffered another injury. How much is Tua much? I mean, you got to ask the question: is he going to, retire? Reports are he's not considering it, but just from sitting on the sideline playing a little armchair quarterback, it's his 5th concussion, I want to say, since 2022. Justin, I'll start it off with you. You're an Alabama fan. You've been following, or you're college guy. You've been following Tua for a little while. What are your thoughts on his situation here? Unfortunate to see him go down, but do you think he should consider at least retiring?
I think he should absolutely consider retiring, because this is the second time on national television we've seen him go into the fencing position, with his fingers all crossed up, and he's lost consciousness. It's just not a good look. And I mean, I think with the way that his contract is guaranteed, that guaranteed money should be enough to carry out through life. And I think that the insurance will honor it, him getting that money. So why keep playing? You got a family, you got a big future ahead of you still. Football's not the end all be all. I think you got to call it. I mean, at some point you have to say, is it really worth it for my I'm not my future, the way of life, the quality of life that I'm going to live in the future. Is it really worth it? We've seen some of these guys with CTE, and it's not a good look. And I mean, at this point, he has it. I mean, he should retire.
Ron, you following that same sentiment as Justin here?
Yeah, I mean, if he does anything, I think it's got to be after the season. Finished off the season strong. Every guy wants to come back and play. If he does, kudos to him. If not, you're not going to hate him for not finishing off the season. And at the end of the season, yeah, we'll think about retirement. And from another quick standpoint, if you're the Dolphins, I mean, you've invested in this guy. You've given him year after year after year. When is it that you look to say, hey, we're not going to have Tyreek and Waddle, and A-Chain for forever. We need to come. We need to come back, and we need to get a solid quarterback. So from both sides of the coin, I think that this year should be the end of the run for Tua in Miami.
Ben, what are your thoughts on the situation? And cap it off with your thoughts on fantasy guys, fantasy players for Miami going forward.
Yeah, crazy that the guy to deliver the hit. I think Tua delivered the hit, but we see DeMar Hamlin here in the photo. You know what I mean? Coming back from the dead and getting his fucking 2 cents in. But I mean, I think Shefty reported today that Tua has already decided he's not going to retire.
Yep.
So, I mean, everybody's pushing for it. I think that it would be, like Ron said, the weapons that they have, and kind of leading into fantasy. I mean, I think we all know that Tua is not a Super Bowl QB, right?
True.
And not putting it there, but the concussions, first of all, like, dude, it's getting out of hand. I mean, I'm sure, like Justin said, the insurance would cover it. The NFL doesn't want to see this guy go through 2 or 3 more concussions and then see what the studies say, once it's all done for him.
Yeah.
I think that they're on board with him retiring. This is kind of one of those Dana White where he forces fighters to retire. I think that the league's got to really sit down with him and have a talk, just for the sake of, everybody. Like, who knows what the hell's going to happen? It wasn't even a hard hit, guys. Like, it's not like they hit sticked him or anything. Like, it was all on Tua creating that contact. For fantasy purposes, I mean, you really hope that they go out and do something about the quarterback position. They're probably expecting Tua to be out, I'd say maybe at most a month, right? Give him 4 weeks at most, and then he'll be back. But with A-Chain, with Tyreek Hill, with Waddle, I mean, they have so many weapons, and I know that the offense has been built around Tua, and, he can't really throw deep, so they have a lot of quick hitters, and they've modified it for him, right, to get their speed guys the ball and let them work. I'm worried about Tyreek. I'm worried about Waddle. More Waddle than Tyreek, because Tyreek, they're just going to find ways to give him the ball. Only worry here is we know that he's a smaller guy. He was the only starter still in the game late in the fourth quarter against the Bills when they got smashed this past week. But we saw him put up 29 points if you're a full PPR fantasy football player. So, I mean, his workload is going to go up like crazy. He's going to be getting those cheap little dump down receptions. The Dolphins need to do something at quarterback or the season's over. I mean, I don't want to overreact over week 2, but Skylar Thompson, he's not Malik Willis, but man, he's right there.
Yeah, he's definitely not the guy that you want to carry with you through the rest of the season if you're the Dolphins. But yeah, it's an unfortunate situation all around for Tua and the team. They've invested a lot in him. Hopefully, he can come back. Let's get to another injury. What's up?
What do you do if you force the retirement on him, like Ben was saying, for the team? Because that's a cap hit to the team. Do you just say, hey, we're going to make a special deal where you guys don't get the cap hit?
Man, that's a interesting, situation. I was looking before, more on a Tua side. If he is, medically, forced to retire, like if he goes and he gets medical, what's it called, medical advice or an opinion, and he doesn't get cleared to come back, he's fully guaranteed his contract at that point, I believe, if that's kind of the stipulation that he clears. But I don't know. It's a tricky situation, especially when you're talking about fully guaranteed contracts, or not even fully guaranteed, but the money that is guaranteed to him.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next injury just real quick here. Sure, everyone has been paying attention to this. He was a consensus number 1 pick. CMC was put on the IR this past Saturday. He's expected to miss at least the next 4 games. Earliest he can return is week 6, although I'm seeing news that he's expected to miss maybe even more than the minimum of 4 games by being placed on the IR. So, guys, what are your thoughts of your CMC owner? We talked about it earlier this week in the waiver report. Jordan Mason, obvious ad if he was out there. If you didn't have CMC, because he's just a smash in that offense, with Shanahan. What are y'all's thoughts here on the situation, Justin?
I don't think there's going to be, there's going to be some drop off, obviously, for the Niners because Jordan is not CMC. But with the way that offense is constructed, you're still going to get a lot of productivity from the running back. For the owners of CMC, I think this is bogus that we didn't know the severity of the injury prior. For anybody who drafted him first overall, because that's what his ADP was. And for the fans who were, looking forward to the future, buying his jersey, willing to be cheering on the Niners, and they get the short end of the stick as well. So this was terrible all around by the organization and the NFL to kind of hide the severity of this injury, and terrible for fantasy owners all throughout.
I agree with you, and Ron, you give your take, but I just wanted to follow up on what Justin just said, because that is kind of where I was coming from this, thinking about it in the back of my head, because the whole preseason they were playing it off, because we heard about this pretty early on and throughout the process, but it was lingering. It was still there. He was seen with a sleeve on his leg throughout most of the preseason and practice. And then it comes out that, he's going to be on the IR. Even up until week 1, they were trying to say that he was ready for a full workload. So, Justin, great point. I do think that there is, something sus about that, but there is something about it having a competitive edge. You don't want to show your cards, but still, in the age of transparency with betting and everything involved in fantasy, still kind of, trashy if you think about it. But Ron, what's your take on the situation?
Before I get to my take, what up, Jerry? He's already in the chat. What's up, Mark? We saw Edgar in here earlier. Thanks for joining us, boys. Going over some headlines, and then we'll get into the fantasy news pretty quick. But Jerry says, bro, simple. Don't draft players with injury concerns or who holds out and misses training camp. Yep. Yeah, that's a great point. Take. If it wasn't CMC, I mean, how are you
True.
Not gonna, how are you
not
going to draft
CMC is going 1 no matter what. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do get his point. I mean, obviously, you don't want to. There was a couple guys that you stay away from. If you're a fantasy owner of him, I mean, you're pissed. I mean, you're downright, pissed right now. However, fantasy is a long season. You do have to play 14, 15, 16 weeks. if you make it to the playoffs. So he's going to be there for you. So I wouldn't worry. Just try to manage your lineup. If you can go to 500 while he's gone, I think you're still in a good place. If you got lucky and went to get Mason, like we talked about, if you tuned in on Tuesday for our waiver wire show, then you're sitting even better. As far as the team's perspective, yeah, we would have liked for them to announce it to let the world know that he was hurt. But as we talked about in our show earlier this week, they're not going to do that. That you play things close to the chest. They interviewed Mason. He said he knew Friday way before that they announced it publicly. So you can't be mad at the 49ers, man, for kind of holding it a little close to the chest. Ben, cap us off here, man, on your response to the CMC
Yeah,
going to IR.
I'm kind of going to go on the other side of Justin here, and I'm going to agree with Jerry. I mean, and I'm not wearing a hat today, but I'll tip my hat to Marky Garza. Random.
Yeah, he didn't want to take CMC.
I called him out in the group chat. He said, "I'm not taking CMC. I'm going Bijan." And I was
in our keeper league. Yeah,
shut your ass up. You're going CMC. Kind of like Justin said. If you have the number 1 pick, you have to take CMC. Yeah. I know that the Niners didn't tell us the severity of the injury, but we knew that it was an Achilles.
Calf and Achilles.
That's just never good. So if you're an experienced fan, I mean, I don't want to bash anybody, right? But I think that the signs were there. The red flags were there, right? Yeah. I mean, I get it. Are you going to take Bijan or him? Tyreek Hill was also an option. So if you had the number 1 pick or number 2 pick. So I'm not really feeling sorry for CMC owners, especially because also if you knew he had a freaking lingerer, man.
The lingerer. Yeah, he's a lingerer. Yeah.
If he had a lingering injury, you should have handcuffed him, bro. Like, that's a case
for
where
sure.
You got to handcuff him if you draft him. And you could have handcuffed him late. You could have handcuffed his ass after the draft. Like, there's just no need to feel sorry for any CMC owners.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I think in the world of, getting the handcuffs, I think it's kind of been a thing for other teams to target other teams' necessary handcuffs. So in almost every league that I'm in, the CMC owner does not have Jordan Mason because Jordan Mason got sniped in another part of the draft. But to your point, that's still on the CMC owner. You know that might happen. So
sniped in what round, Roland? Like they could have gotten him.
Yeah, I know exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like that going into it, so you have to make it even more of a priority for yourself. So definitely see your take, not being sorry for the CMC owners. And after all, you do have the number 1 pick, so you've had multiple turns and double picks throughout the draft. So hopefully you did work with those and you're in a decent position, kind of like what Ron was saying. I'm more interested to see how the 49ers hold up without him, like record wise, and see, how well they are able to do without him being the, the stalwart that he is and kind of like the easy safety valve, and more than just a safety valve, because I mean, he turns those into touchdowns more often than not. So interested to see.
So does
Mason.
Yeah,
we'll see. And Mason, I mean, he came in and tore it up all on the ground. So we'll see what's going on. Just keeping it on injuries, kind of a long list, but the ones that are highlighted here, we already talked about CMC, T. Higgins. Y'all know the deal. He's out another week. That's unfortunate because that popped up right before the week 1 started, like on Thursday. That's terrible. The one that I want to focus on, and I want y'all's thoughts just from a fantasy perspective, AJ Brown. He pops up on the injury report on Friday with a hamstring. Kind of vague what's going on here. Comes out that he has some hamstring tightness. Then he doesn't practice at all on Saturday. The kicker here, he plays Monday night. You more than likely drafted him in the 1st or 2nd round. Not a lot of options unless, you're in a good spot. But, I mean, you're going to have to deal with A.J. Brown on your roster with a Monday start. What are y'all doing with AJ Brown? I'll start at the bottom. Ben, what are you doing with AJ Brown? Are you not even playing games? Are you putting him in your flex? Are you moving him off to the bench? What are you doing here?
Yeah, I actually had the 8 or 9 picks, so that's kind of where he was going in the 1st round, right? Tail end. I did pick him up in one league. I just wanted to stay away because I was an AJ Brown owner last year, and I got a sour taste with the way that he was acting late in the season on the sidelines. But based off what we saw last Monday in the CMC situation, let's just avoid it, right? It's a hamstring. That's something that even if he plays 1 or 2 plays, he could be out of the game because he tweaked it and they don't want to risk further injury, right? I'm benching him. I'm not playing games. I'm not going at a possible 0. There's another option of possibly picking up. We know that they traded for Jahan Dotson from the Commanders. He didn't have a catch last week. I don't know how comfortable you feel plugging him in your lineup, right? With A.J. Brown out,
Yeah.
it is a big role to fill, but is Jahan Dotson that guy? I'm just benching him, and I'm putting in somebody else, in that position. It is wide receiver. It's not running back. It's something that has a little bit more depth, so you should have one or two wide receivers on your bench that you could sub in for him. Of course, they're not going to be to his level, but they're viable options. So I'm just not even playing the game. Already benched A.J. Brown.
Ron, what are your thoughts on the situation? You playing it safe like your counterpart Ben here?
No, I don't think so. I think you got to flex them at least,
Okay.
and then have some options. The only thing is though, it's tough because it's the Monday night game, which would suck. So you're not going to have a lot of options. If you're one of those few guys, super lucky guys, that maybe you have, Devontae Smith on your lineup too, or somebody else is playing in the game, obviously you can flex them. If not, then you got to take Ben's advice, sit them. Say you won week 1, you're already at 1-0, and you can afford this week maybe a toss up to go to 500. So that's what I would do on the Brown situation. Real quick to get to your injury report here, I like it. I like the list of players, but I'm focusing on Kenneth Walker. How much? Staying on the running back, staying on injuries. How many years are we going to get Seattle running backs being hurt? It's a circus over there. We've seen Charbonnet, we've seen him. In the last couple of years, it's kind of been a carousel over there, and they're guys who produce, and that's what makes you upset as a fantasy owner. DJ Dallas was another one who had a couple weeks where he went off last year or the year before that. But Kenneth Walker, man, he's somebody that I drafted. I had a lot of high hopes for him, and boom, week 2, it's fucking injury report time. So that sucks.
Question for you: do you have Zach Charbonnet?
I do not, and I saw him get picked up a lot this week, and I said, why? I don't think he's going to be playing a lot, but I guess you just got to do that, man, with Seattle Seahawks running backs.
Good point there. Justin, anything you want to point out on the injury report? Your thoughts on A.J. Brown or Kenny Walker, as Ron just pointed out?
I'm with Ben. I'm a little more conservative when I play fantasy. That's wide receiver 1. You can't afford to have wide receiver 1 with a 0 because he didn't play. You have to just put someone else up at that point. And it's also part of the schedule that it's all the way to Monday night. It's the last game. Why risk it for a 0 there when you probably could go down the wire and need some points? It's just not worth it to me. Give me points. I'll take points over a question mark any day.
I like that. I after listening to you guys, I was gonna play it with what Ron was saying, kind of flex him. But honestly, my best options that I have to replace him kick off at 12 o'clock today. So I have to make a decision.
Me too.
So I'm gonna go ahead and replace him. So I'm taking y'all's advice, and thanks for y'all sharing your insight. A couple other what's up?
Well, just like, who are you gonna get from the Falcons, right? Like, people are drafting Drake London, and he can't even put up points. What other wide receiver are you gonna get to fill in for him? And then if you go to the Eagles, it's gonna have to be Dotson. And do you feel comfortable with a guy who just got traded a month ago to this team to come up and put up? I mean, you hope, like Justin said, it's a wide receiver 1. Like, just go ahead and replace him with, whoever may be that's already on the bench, and let's not play that game.
Deontay Johnson, Bryce Young, don't fail me now.
Jerry says Zach will be a sneaky RB1 this week.
Yeah, no, that's why I asked you about Zach Charbonnet. I think he's a guy that's proven to be someone who's able to take advantage of the extra workload when it's been given to him the last season or two. I think this is his 3rd year. If not, last year was his rookie year, and he did good with it. So, anyways, I like Zach. Good point, Jerry. Just a couple other names to run through because they are fantasy relevant. Marquise Brown, if you drafted him, you're looking at a complete wasted pick. It might be the case that he's not going to play all year. That's kind of what Andy Reid said yesterday.
They said postseason maybe. So even then,
he might even come back in the postseason. If you drafted Worthy or Rice, absolute smashes, I think, for you guys going the rest of the year. Worthy could be in contention, for Rookie of the Year, depending what happens with the quarterbacks. Other names here: Jaden Reed, questionable. Haven't seen anything about him this morning. Addison is out. Jameson Williams, ankle, but I think he's going to play. Ferguson is ruled out. Jerry Jones was the only one saying that he might be able to play. I mean, the guy nearly tore his ACL, and Jerry Jones was saying, he might be able to come out and play week 2. We're going to hold out hope.
Jerry's I paid him. He needs to play. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Njoku, he's going to be out kind of long term. Josh Downs not going to be able to make it. It's questionable, but he's ruled out. Keenan Allen, he's going to be game time. Romo Dunze, game time. Probably going to play, though, based on what I read. And I got an update on Palmer. Shoot, I'm butchering it, but I think
believe he's going to play.
Palmer's active. Yeah, Palmer's active. Any names that I just ran through you guys want to touch on before we get into the flexes and must starts?
I'm ready, baby. Let's
All
get
right.
into the meat and potatoes.
Time to start
Yeah.
fixing tight ends, right? Picking up tight ends from the waiver wire. Njoku and Ferguson are both guys that got drafted as starters, and you already have to fill in at tight end.
Yeah, no, perfect call out, and that's because the tight end position, like a lot of other positions, got off to a slow start in fantasy. So it was a pretty low scoring weekend, unless you were part of some good matchups. But the must starts for me this week, just going to get into it. Kind of the theme here, and I'll keep it quick so we can get through this, is bounce back spots. I like bounce backs for a lot of these guys. They didn't get off to the best starts in week one. I alluded to it with Scary Terry's team, the Commanders, and their matchup on week 2 against the Giants. Pretty favorable. The number one receiver for the Vikings had their way. I know that's Justin Jefferson, but they still had a lot of success passing the ball. Jaden Daniels and Scary Terry, they're going to have to get going at some point. He is the number one receiver, not a lot of target competition. We just talked about Jahan Dotson. He got shipped away. Favorable matchups across the field. He's going up against the Giants cornerbacks. Their names are escaping me. I had him up here. And like I said, bounce back spot. So I like Scary Terry to come back. I like his over catches if you're playing price picks or anything like that. If it's at 3.5, I think he clears that easy. Amari Cooper. This one's a little scary, because I do think in some capacity that Deshaun Watson is probably washed. Like, that is the one thing that is scaring me on this pick, because otherwise it all lines up. He's got good matchups against the team that he's going up against in the Jacksonville Jaguars. They rank horribly in terms of PFF and their ratings per 100 snaps or whatever. Secondary, they already have some injuries going on back there. Strong target share should increase with known Njoku. He had about 20% target share last week. He had a touchdown go off the fingertips in the fourth quarter that could have been big for him. And, we're looking at this a little bit differently for Amari Cooper. So I like him to bounce back. And I'm going back to the well. He didn't completely fail me last week. I mean, as a must start, you'd like to see him get, 15 to 20 points or more, but it's none other than the Giants receiver, Malik Neighbors. I like this matchup for fantasy. Bad teams, bad defenses can sometimes yield good results for fantasy. So I like Malik Neighbors to get into the end zone. The Commanders defense, they gave up 4 touchdowns to wide receivers in week 1, including 2 to Mike Evans, who got the matchup of Jean Baptiste, who's going to be guarding Malik Neighbors for most of this game. So I like this breakout game situation for Malik Neighbors. I was a week early last week. Although he didn't fail me, he still got 5 for 66 and, kind of, saved you a little bit. But yeah, I like him to, come out here. Y'all's thoughts on my must starts real quick before we get into Ron's.
Wide receiver, I love it, man. You can't see Amari Cooper having terrible back-to-back weeks. Malik Neighbors did show some potential. I think he had 11 points at least for you last
11
week.
points. 11 points.
So, I mean, the targets are going to be there, if not more this week, because he already kind of low-key said well, he gave his opinion on his quarterback. Scary Terry's always a dude who, can break out. So I like your picks. I like him a lot. I just want to get to some of the guys real quick. Ismael, what's up, bro? Thanks for joining us. Ryan's here as always. Ryan's always a great supporter. Edgar came back in the chat. So Ismael says, y'all think Ingram bounces back this week? What do we think on that? And then to piggyback off that, Jerry says, Likely or Ingram for tight end. So Ingram is a topic of conversation right here. So to get to Jerry's question, boys, are we doing Likely or Ingram? And then follow that up with Ismael if Ingram bounces back.
Man, I'll answer it real quick. Just, I'm on the theme of bounce backs this week, but I'm going to stay away from Ingram on Jerry's question. I would go Likely there. I mean, he just showed, he had a nice breakout game last week. I don't think he's going to do that every week, but I think he's going to be, in a good position most weeks in this offense, and it's a good offense in the Ravens. So I'm sticking with Likely there.
I like Likely as well. I think he's going to take over tight end 1 spot for the Ravens. They're still going to be run heavy with Lamar and Henry, but I think he's going to get the bulk of the targets. I'm not saying Mark Andrews is washed, but the trajectory is down on him a little bit. And I think Likely's trajectory is up.
I'm gonna go the other way here. I'm gonna go with Ingram for a bounce back.
Okay.
It's a big spread for the Ravens. I see a big game for Derrick Henry today. I think
Good
that they're
point.
going to be up early, be up often. Somewhat of that New Orleans Saints game script from last week, where not a lot of the targets did very well. So I'm going to go with Evan Ingram, who's playing against the Browns today in a 3-point spread. Should be a tighter game, and I like Evan Ingram to bounce back this week.
There we go. Justin, Ben, any thoughts on the three guys up here on the screen? You guys staying away from most of these, dabbling with anything that I just said?
I'm definitely staying away from Amari Cooper. Not a fan of the Browns. You alluded to Deshaun Watson being washed.
Yeah, that's the scary part about this. I'm being a little spicy here.
Yeah,
but,
I have Jerry Jeudy on my team. Somebody I took a late flyer on, got a touchdown last week. Hopefully that they're down a lot, but man, Deshaun Watson, Edgar said that he saw a meme that said he died on the massage table. We were talking last week amongst ourselves, off air about how I was telling y'all when he was with Houston, he just had so much swag and aura and, he was feeling himself. And right now it's none of that, bro. And he looks like a deer in the headlights. I think that confidence is at least 50% of it mentally. Like, you got to think that you're the best out there, and he does not believe that for one bit. The fans let him know about it. Like, that's not a fan base that is going to hold back either. The Browns fans that dog pound. So I'm not feeling any of the wide receivers for them until hopefully they make a quarterback change. That's where I'm at, man. I mean, I owned the Deshaun Watson Texans jersey, but he's done. I mean, I'm not saying he can't be a backup in the NFL, but his days as a starter, honestly, I don't think that he can turn it around at this point.
Might be time for Jameis Winston. Justin, what's your thought?
I think these picks are a little bit, like you said, spicy. They're boom or bust, especially with Cooper and Neighbors because of who's throwing to them. Cooper with Watson, I'm not all the way out on Watson because that O-line is not their starting O-line. That O-line is banged up. So I'm going to just, give him a little bell. I'm not going to completely write off Watson and Cooper. With Neighbors, Daniel Jones, bro, I just can't get over that. Like, he's their only real target at this point too. But if these dudes eat, they're going to eat. But I'm just saying it's like, it's a flip of a coin. Are we going to land on the side that they're going to eat, or is it going to be at the detriment of their quarterback and who's throwing to them? I like the McLaurin pick, though.
There we go. I like that. Got a little bit of love from Justin. So
I don't completely hate him because
no. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I like the love. That's all.
I didn't just
any
need
love.
to be opposed because I only touched on Cooper, but I do like Neighbors. I'm actually starting Neighbors over Olave this week.
That's not bad. I mean, Olave 2 points last week. I mean,
I'm expecting Neighbors to get, like I mentioned last week, that Dabble was now Brian Dabble is now doing the offensive play calling. They got smashed by Sam Darnold and the Vikings last week. It was never even close. I was on the Giants. This is a divisional matchup. Like you mentioned, that the Commanders defense is going to be one of the worst defenses in the league. I mean, 8-9 catches for Neighbors today. Like, let's do it, right? This is it. You got to feed him. He's the only weapon. He got maybe 6 or 7 attempts last week, five total receptions. I see 8 or 9 receptions today. So I am on you with Neighbors. Like I said, I'm starting him over Olave.
There we go. I like that. And Justin, I was just saying, I appreciate any love from you. I like your takes on my guys, and definitely boomer bust for sure.
He's a love giver.
I like that. Ron, give us your take here. You're gonna hit us with a little 2-piece, a little 1-2, a little thunder lightning. What's going on?
Some lightly, the little Church's chicken 2-piece deal. Cooper Kupp, man. I mean, let's face it. Everybody heard the news about Puka Nacua. There's nobody else over there for me, in my opinion. That's why I put him holding the number 1, because he's the number 1 option. Again, you could see a possibility of 12 to 15 targets today.
Or more.
Mr. Cooper Kupp. Or more, man. So the Arizona D last week gave up yards to Buffalo. I mean, Josh Allen is definitely not the quarterback of the Rams caliber, but still, I think they're going to sling it all over the field. He's rested. He's healthy coming off that injury. I think that the running game gets more involved for the Rams this week with Williams, so that'll help with the play action, just some easier targets. And we know what Cooper Kupp can do after he gets the ball in his hands. He's the yak machine. Michael Pittman on the other side. Anthony Richardson has a fucking cannon, boys. We saw him torch that Texans defense last week over the top. Receivers were getting open. And I think he's going to be peppered with targets too. Green Bay, we saw their secondary not last week, but even last year, they were a big liability also, especially against Philadelphia. Brown went off. So these are my two guys, Cooper Kupp and Michael Pittman, must starts for week 2.
I got one myself.
Who are you going with?
So last week I did give up Pickens. Pickens gave you 13.5, 14 points depending on your league.
There we go.
I'm going to reach into the Steelers bag one more week, and this is a fade on the Denver defense. I'm going to go Najee Harris.
Okay.
So last season, Denver's defense in fantasy gave up the most points to running backs. And last week they gave the 5th most points to running backs. And Najee got 22 out of the 30 carries last week. So I'm going to do a little reach again into the bag of the Steelers and say Najee Harris must start.
I like that, Justin, especially because that last point that you brought out. I mean, the Denver defense, good points there, but Najee Harris, surprisingly to me, it looked like the workhorse for the Steelers last week. It wasn't expected because of Jaylen Warren, kind of being in the backfield, but he came up a little gimpy, throughout the preseason and training camp. So maybe that played into it, but I like that Najee Harris pick a lot. Ron, like your Cooper Kupp pick a lot, and Michael Pittman too. No Josh Downs again, so Pittman's going to get more targets, and it should only get better, his connection with Anthony Richardson. So definitely like these. And target for Cooper Kupp, I think he might end with 20 plus. I think you're being modest with your 15-ish targets.
Okay.
So no, I definitely like your picks.
Thanks, brother.
Ben, any thoughts here? Because I know you gave a flex, but what are your thoughts here on must starts? Any other guys you want to throw out?
For must starts, I mean, just with the AJ Brown news that we've been talking, I think Devontae Smith is going to be a smash spot this week, anywhere between 15 to 20 fantasy points from a guy that you drafted to maybe be wide receiver 2, maybe a flex option. So I would go with Devontae Smith. And then kind of going back to the Steelers, I know it's not the sexiest offense. We saw them get nothing but field goals last week with Chris Boswell, but I'm going to go with the Muth, Pat Freiermuth, this week against the Broncos. I think the Broncos give it up to tight ends as well. Freiermuth is going to be a little safety option. We saw that Pickens was a big target last week downfield, but I like Freiermuth to get involved a little more than he was last week.
There we go.
So I'll go at, for those people in Njoku or Ferguson, go ahead and plug in Pat Freiermuth at tight end this week.
Yeah, Freiermuth, he got paid in the offseason right before the season started, I think, like 4 for 48. Pretty good contract for tight ends.
There it is. A.J. Brown ruled out, so the decision just got easier for everybody.
Yep, A.J. Brown ruled out. Go make your changes, guys. I know a lot of you guys have A.J. Brown. And like Ben said, Devonta Smith, if you're playing props or anything like that, he should be a smash this week. Let's get into it. Flex zone. Everybody gets one guy here to throw out and hopefully hit on. Last week was not so good. I went with JSN. We recapped that this past week, but I'm going with Jameson Williams here for my start flex of the week. Excuse me. It was almost a must start because I do think Jameson Williams has very much arrived. I think he's here. I think if he can stay healthy, he's gonna put out a lot of those performances similar to last week. He's very involved in the offense. They hit him with the go arounds. He's a deep threat. He has that burst that Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't have as, kind of the chain mover. So I like Jameson Williams. He's only like 23, 24. I think if he can stay healthy, his involvement in the offense is only going to grow. He's a part of an explosive offense. Bucks defense, they kind of gave it up a little bit to the Commanders. They're kind of moving the ball up and down the field. So I like that. They got some injuries in the secondary. I think Justin alluded to that. I know Winfield has already been ruled out, and another player on that defense has been ruled out too. So they're already going to be down a couple guys. He had his breakout game last week, and he's projected for about 12 points PPR. So if you have Jameson Williams, I think he's a easy plug-in for AJ Brown. Just a little worried. He came up with an ankle this week. I should point that out. All cards on deck here. So Jameson Williams as my flex of the week.
Touch up on Luis's question, Roland. Now that you're done with your flex, who would you flex there?
Flex question. All right. If Neighbors McLaurin or
2
Charbonnet.
of your must starts on there.
Oh man, yeah, 2 of my
Yeah,
must starts
true.
on there. That's true. And Charbonnet, he was almost a must start for me too. But I just thought it was kind of obvious. I mean, I liked Jordan Mason too as a must start because they're just filling in that natural workhorse spot, and I like Justin's points on that Denver defense. But man, I would probably go Neighbors out of those 3. I think he's going to have his breakout game this week, but you can't go wrong with Charbonnet. I'd actually put McLaurin. Man, it's tough.
Is Charbonnet starting for sure?
Yeah, he's starting. Walker's been ruled out.
Walker's out.
And I know that I went Ingram over Likely just 5 minutes ago. Ingram has been ruled out also. So Likely is the start there for whoever
good call out. Good call out. Just
yeah, that was for I'll try to find the comment.
Yeah, he suffered a hamstring injury and
I think it was Jerry.
warm-ups,
Jerry said Ingram more likely.
Yeah, and then Ismael also, if you're still watching, he's the one who said y'all think Ingram bounces back. Well, that's a no because he ain't playing. So
yeah,
go to your roster, bro, and make those changes.
I think I'm in a league with Ismael too. So
you got to tell him, bro.
Let's not give him this.
Yeah, I'll answer Luis's question and then get into mine. Flex option. I think they're pretty decent options.
Yeah, they're all good. Good options.
I would lean to the running back most often than not, but with that Patriots defense, I mean, the Patriots defense, for all things, the one thing that they still do is play defense.
Yeah.
Neighbors, you just drafted really high. Like Roland said, the coming out party, we were expecting it last week, probably a week too soon.
Yep.
I'm going to second his notion and go with Neighbors as well. I think Neighbors gets you. I think the floor is, I honestly, and I might sound stupid here next week, I think the floor is 15 points today for Neighbors, honestly.
Okay, I like that. I like the sound of the words that you're
I'm starting him over Olave, so I'm definitely starting him over Terry McLaurin and Zach Charbonnet. So I like Neighbors today. I'm going to get into mine. Jerome Ford, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Maybe he's an RB2 just based off, like we were talking about the Christian McCaffrey handcuff. I was somebody who drafted Nick Chubb 2 or 3 rounds before I drafted Jerome Ford. But I made sure to get Jerome Ford because I knew for the first 4 weeks of the season, it was guaranteed starts. So Jerome Ford was somebody who you were getting in the 9th round or later in most fantasy drafts, probably later than that. Last week, he goes and puts up 14, 15 points, does find the end zone late. In a game where they were getting blown out also, he still managed to find the end zone in the second half. So today against the Jacksonville Jaguars, I mean, we saw that the Dolphins were able to run the ball last week. A-Chain had a decent week, 2 weeks in a row now. I'm looking for Ford to find the end zone today and, a floor of double digits. So 10 points minimum. I think with a flex option, you're just asking for 10 points minimum. So I think that he's going to be one of the better flex options. If you don't have him at RB2, I know that he might be ranked as an RB2 guy. I'm just I had a lot going on this week. Didn't even change it from last week. Running Jerome Ford back.
Back to the well. If it's not broken, don't fix it. I like it. Ron, who's your flex of the week?
All right, man. So flex of the week. Let me try to find this. Yes, Ismail Ingram is out. Stephon Diggs. Ben is going to get to see him live in person tonight. So hopefully he goes off just for your sake, Ben. He can go put on a show out there for you and the boys live in Houston tonight. But Nico Collins to me is going to draw the matchup from top DB of the Bears, Johnson. So I think he might be locked in. And to me, Diggs is a vet, bro. He knows how to find the end zone. He knows how to get open. When they're in the red zone, that's who you want to go to. The guy who's crafty, the guy who's going to make an easier throw for CJ Stroud. You don't want anything difficult, and he's going to give you a big target, hit him in the chest, and he's going to go in and get you those 6 points. I think that they're still kind of working, to me, to fit Tank Dell in. Now with the addition of Diggs, it's not so clear anymore. Like it was last year, it was just Nico and Dell. And then you also have Mixon in there too, who did great last week, and we know he can catch passes. So to me, Diggs is the guy who you're going to go for sure for the end zone and who's going to be open. I think he's showed us last week that he's still an older guy in that young offense. But if you want fantasy points from the Texans, Stephon Diggs is going to be the guy. So he's going to be my flex of the week.
I like that. He's definitely proven to be one of CJ Stroud's first looks there in the red zone, kind of where he scored those touchdowns. So I like that he's there operating in the intermediate part of the field. Ben, your pick of the week. I like Jerome Ford, especially just the matchup. Weak Jags defense kind of gave it up to the Commanders last week in terms of the pass catching backs. I think Brian Robinson ate in terms of his receiving, and Austin Eckler even joined the party, even though he has no burst left. He still came in with like 4 for 50 or something like that in terms of catching. So I think Jerome Ford is a great play there. Flex of the week. Stephon Diggs as well. Great plays, fellas. Any thoughts, Ben, on Diggs and Williams? Ron, same thing for you for Ford and Williams. Any thoughts there?
I'm fucking hyped for Williams because he's the guy that I got in 2 out of my 3 leagues. Because I remember Justin always putting it in my head, hey, he's gonna go off. He's a Bama guy, and I said, yeah, he is. He goes, when he's 100% back from that, too. When he's back from that injury, he's gonna show off because he has that over the top. He's the guy who's going to go get you those 60-yarders, 70-yarders, and boom, in one play, you have 10, 11, 12 points. So I'm all on Jameson Williams. Pause. But I like him. If you have a chance to go get him, go get him.
Yeah, I'll go real quick. With Diggs, obviously, I mean, you're looking for him to eat. Last week, you saw, I think, 4 or 5 receptions, but he did have the 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, that's the captain. He's going to be the guy down there in the goal line that they go to. We see Nico Collins as the guy, so he's clearly wide. I would say Nico Collins is clearly wide receiver 1.
Yeah, he's the alpha.
Yeah, and Stephon Diggs, who's been wide receiver 1 his whole career, now wide receiver 2. Agree with Ron a little bit about the Tank Dell stuff. I know I'm just going down the Texans wide receiver depth chart, and that's something that a lot of people said, well, it's just too many guys, too many targets. We saw it work for everybody except Tank Dell in week 1. I still think finding his place in the offense now with Stephon Diggs is fair, but him and CJ Stroud just have that connection. So I'm not too worried about Tank Dell. I think Tank Dell is a solid flex option just every week of the season. And then for Williams, I honestly don't know too much about the guy because he's always been hurt. I know that he's the big play, the explosive guy, takes the top off. The only thing that I'm worried about is targets. Like, how many targets did he have last week?
5 catches on 9 targets.
Okay, that's way more than I expected. So nothing bad to say against Jameson Williams. He's going to be getting 9 targets. Noah was a down week for Amon-Ra St. Brown, but like Ron said, 1 play is all it takes. We see people flexing Worthy. I think Jameson Williams is a way better option.
Great comparison
than Worthy because he's just on the field more, right? Of course, Worthy has Mahomes and whatnot, but seems like Jameson Williams on the field a little bit more than Worthy.
Justin, what are your thoughts on the flexes here? And do you have a flex of the week that you'd like to share with everybody?
I don't have a flex of the week. I like these picks. I think JMO's, trajectory is going to be up. I think he's going to eat more on that offense. They're designing plays for him as well. And now that he's healthy off that ACL, he looked really good week 1.
There we go. Any thoughts on Ford and Diggs? Or are you ready to move on and get these?
Everything's been covered that I agree with, so I'm not going to say the same thing over.
There we go. Just got to share some love for JMO. I see you. I like that. Jameson Williams, definitely a fan favorite. Guys been rooting for him to succeed. Finally getting some shine here after a rough start to his career. All right, let's get into it. Week 2, best bets. I'm going to do a little recap first. Boys did all right. I mean, and we're doing, aggregate results.
That's a lot of green.
About 9 and 5 altogether. So I'll take that any day of the week as a podcast. I hit on my props. My teaser didn't come through. I will hit one this week. And Houston should have just taken the money line with my boys. Guys, any thoughts on week 1 before we get into week 2?
Yeah, I didn't hit on my pick. I did the square parlay, and the Bengals fell me. Now it comes out that they shouldn't have failed me. The touchdown should have counted. They would have won, but it is what it is. We lose week 1, but I got another square parlay coming up for week 2.
You're cooking up. Ron, what are your thoughts?
I'm happy the Bengals lost because I didn't take them in the Survivor.
You went 3-0.
I did go 3-0. I went 2-0 in the Survivors because the Bears came back and got that win. The Saints -3 was easy. They were up early. They were up often. The Bears
that was a smash of the week.
Hey, Ron, can you speak up a little bit? I can't really hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't hear you too much.
What about now?
Yeah, you're good. How about
better now?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. So the Saints -3 hit Bears. They had to come back in the second half, and the Bucks, Baker and the Bucks, they took care of business for me too, -3. I'm looking forward to carrying that momentum into week 2. So
There we go. And Ben hit 2, with Houston, Seattle. I thought that was a good pick. Had Denver kind of pretty much in tow the whole way. I don't think it was as close as the scoreboard would indicate. I think Seattle had that game in tow most of the way. Ben, any thoughts on your week 1 performance here? Best bets before we get into week 2. Everyone's already given their thoughts. So
yeah, I feel like it should have been 4-1. I mean, I know the Giants never had a shot, so I'm not going to lobby for that. But that over in the Lions and Rams game, I mean, damn, what an
that's crazy.
Anticlimactic game, bro. That shit was, the Rams scored early, and you thought, okay, this is setting up to be the shootout everybody expected, and it just was a complete opposite. We even got overtime, and it still couldn't get there. So, yeah, upset that wasn't a 4-1 weekend.
Yeah, but still 3-2. Good podcast, 9-5 overall. We'll take that any day of the week. Everybody that's here with us, it's 11:21. We're getting close here to kickoff time, 12 o'clock Central Time. If you guys are here with us in Texas, everybody that's here with us, thank you. Please hit us with a like, hit us with a share, or a like a repost or whatever, anything you guys want to do to show the boys some love. We're about to get into our best bets for week 2 and cap off with some Survivor, and maybe do a quick recap for those of you guys that just joined us. But these are our week 2 best bets. Guys, I'm sticking with some props here. I'm going to go through the 3 props that I got. Scary Terry over 3.5 receptions. I alluded to it earlier. I think it's a good bounce back spot for him. I like his matchups. Guys, I didn't say it earlier because I don't think it's really something you should consider, but it is his birthday. So I do think that they're going to try and get him some love today. So give me Scary Terry.
I actually like that even more now, to be honest.
I like that over 3.5 here against the Giants, divisional foe. Jonathan Taylor, I like him to get in the end zone for a second consecutive week going up against the Packers. You all saw what Saquon Barkley did. He got into the end zone not once, not twice, but 3 times against the Packers last week. So give me Jonathan Taylor. They're going to lean on him on the road, so I like him to get a touchdown. Another touchdown prop. Give me Cooper Kupp. I like him to get in the end zone today. Ron, that was his must start. I think he's going to be peppered with targets, and he's going to find himself in the end zone this week. And then my sides, guys that I'm betting on in terms of the teams, I like Dallas -6. I think it's a good spot. It's a home opener. I think the Saints, it's a little bit of Fugazi. They went up against the Carolina Panthers. They were at home, got them in a great spot. I still don't believe in Carr and those weapons that they have. So give me the Cowboys to cover -6. And then my teaser, I told you guys I'm going to hit one. Detroit and Baltimore, 7-point teaser, get Detroit down to -1. I got this morning, so I think I saw Detroit -7.5, so you could even get better numbers there. But yeah, I like Detroit and Baltimore. Keep it safe there. I think they both win easily. Buccaneers dealing with some injuries in that secondary and across that defense. I think it's a bad spot for them. And then Baltimore, bounce back spot, home opener against the Raiders. They got to get a dub. They're 0-1, don't want to go 0-2. So that's kind of the angles that I'm coming at you guys with. We can recap here at the end. Ron, what are your 3?
I was looking at them, and the 2 of them are very similar, or the exact same as Ben. So we're on the same page. So I'll just cover the one that that me and Ben had different. It's the Niners -5 at Minnesota. We saw what Sam Darnold did last week. I don't think he's going to repeat that against the San Francisco defense. And at -5 with that offense that they have, obviously no CMC, but Mason stepped in, and we saw the work that he did. So I don't know if that's like one of those plays that's what's that fucking word for it when they like when the book gives you a play and
trap.
You're like, nah, this is too good.
A trap line. Yeah, trap line.
That's a trap. Could be a trap line right there, but I'll fall for it. I'll take the trap. San Francisco -5, Indy -2.5 at Green Bay, just because of the quarterback situation over there in Green Bay, and then Houston -6 versus Chicago. Duzier's banged up, and we haven't talked about it, but Keenan Allen, I believe, is questionable.
Yep.
So Swift didn't look impressive at all. I don't know if Caleb Williams can do enough as a rookie to go against this tough Texans team. So Indy, San Francisco, and Houston for me.
I like those picks a lot. Great spots there for Houston. Ben, what are your picks here?
Yeah, I think the trap line, and I'm taking the bait on it too, might be the Indy line. I mean, I know that it's gone down. We saw what Malik Willis looked like when he went in there late, albeit it was only 2 plays. They didn't even get the Hail Mary off. We know Malik Willis got drafted by the Titans, didn't even make it on their team, ended up in Green Bay. I think everybody could agree he might be one of the worst backups in the NFL, and people have been talking. I mean, for Matt LaFleur to not rule Jordan Love out of the game until yesterday or the day before, I think tells you a lot. They were really holding hope that maybe he could go some miracle. Fuck it, I'm taking the bait. I'm not the biggest Anthony Richardson fan. Love that you have Jonathan Taylor there for an anytime touchdown. We saw him get into the end zone last week. So let's win by a field goal. I know that it is in Lambeau. Not, like I said, Anthony Richardson, love his arm, but it's not the most accurate. He should have probably had 4 touchdowns. He only had 2 passing touchdowns. Yep. But give me the Colts to win by at least a field goal. Then I'm going to go with Houston. DeAndre Swift also with the running game. They have so many wide receivers that are banged up. DJ Moore probably should have a really good week this week. He was a must start. We'll see if Stingley is shadowing him. Might make it a little bit more challenging. But DeAndre Swift does not worry me at all. Roma Duze does not worry me at all. And if Keenan Allen does get ruled out, we know that he's that possession receiver that moves the sticks, kind of safety blanket that keeps drives alive. So if he doesn't play, I think this is a great spot for the Texans. Like I said, we'll be in the house. I guarantee 5 false starts tonight at least. For the Bears. Caleb Williams has not seen anything like what's going to happen tonight. Yo. Roof's going to be open. It's going to be a hell of a night. And then give me Baltimore. We talked about bounce backs. They played the Chiefs. Was a tight game. Lost by, a toe in the end zone. Give me the Ravens to bounce back. Big game for Derrick Henry. Big game for Lamar. I see 250 rushing yards for the Ravens today as a team between Lamar, Derrick Henry, and everybody. So give me the Baltimore Ravens to smash the Raiders, something around 30-7, 30-10.
I like that. I like your picks. Picks a lot. Justin, give us your parlay, then we'll get into a quick recap. We can comment on each other's picks and whatnot. What's going on with your parlay? Justin, I think you might be on mute, my friend.
Yeah, you're on mute, pal.
Damn, Justin don't want it.
While Justin is getting himself connected, Justin, cut me off whenever you're up and running. But his parlay here plus 145. It's Baltimore, Dallas, and San Francisco. So he's shown some love to all the other picks that we have up here in terms of Ron's got San Francisco, I got some Dallas love, and Ben's got Baltimore. So I like that. Baltimore, Dallas, San Francisco. Justin, you up yet?
Oof.
Oh, okay.
Let's add the Texans to that parlay and make it
not a good sign. Yeah, I like your idea there. I do have the Texans in a play myself. Won't talk about it, but I got a little parlay going, and I got the Texans on there too. So definitely like the spot, Justin.
Yo, I'm back. Can you hear me?
There we go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I briefly recapped your parlay, but give us what you're thinking. What's
Super Square, 12 o'clock parlay. We're going Ravens to eat over the Raiders. We got Niners away at the Vikings, but the Niners still the Niners. That was a Super Bowl team last year. And then we got Cowboys at home at -6.5 to beat the Saints. So I like that. We're going to go money line parlay, Super Square, 12 o'clock. You can hit your bet early this week. And if you bet that one with me, it's at plus 145 right now. I did want to say one thing about what Ben said. I really liked what he said about Willis and the trap line. I do think what he said was Willis didn't even make his team that drafted him. And then you have to think also, how much of that offense does he really know at this point? So I like that pick, Ben. I really do.
Yeah. I like Indy. That was a game when the whole injury happened. I looked too for the next week, and I saw that it was only -3. And like Ben was saying, it's a trap line, and they want you to take Indy. The money has gone the other way. That's kind of why it's at -2.5. I wanted to take them. I might still take them. I'm just worried about Anthony Richardson on the road, which is what Ben alluded to. But I still like them. I think they're going to win the game. I don't see Malik Willis winning unless Anthony Richardson completely just goes off the rails and throws like 2 pick sixes or something like that and has a bad game, which I don't think will happen. So
the Colts defense also isn't the best defense, so maybe we overlook like Aaron Jones. I know Aaron Jones played, or not. I'm sorry, Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs didn't have the best week last week. I know we had some questions about him on the waiver wire or expectancy for him rest of the year. Josh Jacobs might be a smash spot against, an Indy defense that remember how they gave it up to Joe Mixon last week. I mean,
Yep.
Joe Mixon looked like a prime top 10 running back, and he's on the tail end of his career, right? Probably the last team he's going to play for in the NFL. So Josh Jacobs today should see a lot of work.
Yeah,
I think
Josh
Indy
Jacobs
scratched
should
the
eat.
box though.
He won me my game last Sunday.
Yeah,
We'll
that's
get
going to
into
be an
Survivor.
interesting game, but I do like Indy as a pick overall. So I like everyone's picks here on the board. Hopefully, we get another winning week.
Yeah.
Again, I think as a podcast, we can keep track of this. I think we're 9-5. So
A lot of
let's keep-
faves this week. I'll say that's the only scary thing. We know NFL's for the dogs, but hopefully we pick those faves that are going to hit. Our board
Yeah.
looks the same for the most part. I mean, me and Ron both have Indy. We both have Houston. So
And man, I just really like that Houston spot. Honestly, I think it's a home opener, Sunday Night Football, rookie quarterback, injuries to his weapons. Great spot overall.
and he didn't
So-
look that good against the Titans last week.
No,
and
I
think
mean
it was at home,
the
right?
defense won them the game. And Will
They had the
Levis
block punt.
and Will Levis going down to his knees like that. That is some amazing stuff. But it cashed Ron and it
Send
helped
him
him
Yeah.
in his survivor because Ron
Right.
zigged when everybody zagged. He went with the Bears. I don't think anybody else in the pool had them. Maybe a couple other guys. It's week 2. I got the numbers up here in front of me. We had 65 people enter. Let me see. I think we have 40 people still alive. So 25 people went down. A lot of people were on the Bengals last week, including myself and Ben. We wasted one of our picks on there. So we're both still alive with another single entry. Justin, you're not. I don't know if you're in our podcast here pool, but you are playing Survivor. I'm going to throw it to you first. What are you thinking for Survivor this week as you're going in, assuming you're still alive, which I know you are?
I am. So, before I talked about I want to fade the Panthers, I'm going to go on the Fade Panthers tour. But the way Ben's talking about these Texans is kind of hyping me up. And what you told me, Roland, look at the Texans schedule. I looked it over. I've switched my picks. We're doing the Texans this week.
Ooh, there we go. I like it. Already getting the Survivor pool talk off to a good start. Ben, you're wearing a Texans jersey. Are you going with the Texans in your Survivor pool, or what are you doing?
In our We Talking About Sports League, I did get 2 buy-ins, did go down, like you mentioned, with one last week with the Bengals. Advanced with the Seahawks. I did join another pool, that's not We Talking About Sports. So I do have 2 Survivor picks this week.
With
A lot of
over 8
options,
million
guys, but I'm
broadcasts.
going with the Texans as well. I changed. I originally had the Chargers in the We Talking About Sports pool, doing that, fade Carolina. And also, we talked about it like last week. Harbaugh's on one sideline, Antonio Pierce. We probably should have been on the Chargers just based on the head coaching advantage.
Yeah.
Quarterback, Herbert and Minshew. Here we have it again. Herbert and Young. We have, Harbaugh, and who the hell knows who the Panthers coach is at this point, right? They're selling tickets to their games for $1.80, guys.
Canales.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
Canales. You can get
Yeah.
into the game for
$1.
under $2. But you
Nah.
can't even get a fountain drink from QT for under $2 anymore, but you can get in to watch the Panthers.
Shout out
play
Quick Trip.
football.
Yeah, Quick Trip goes hard.
Quick Trip, yeah. So I'm not
Yeah, we
mad
got
at a
strikes.
Chargers pick. I did go Chargers in my We Talking About Sports pool. I went Texans in my We Talking About Sports pool. Those are my 2 picks. Think there was a lot of options this week. I think there's going to be a lot of people on the Ravens. I don't want to ruin anything. But Ron, where are you going?
Yeah, I know, Mr. 2-0, saving the best for last. Ron, what's going on? You still got both your entries going into week 2. How are you playing it?
I do have both my entries, and for that reason, I'm gonna go favorites this week and just hope that I keep my 2 and go move to 4-0. So I'm going Baltimore over Las Vegas. Actually, disclaimer: I put these in last night after the UFC sugar fight.
Oh, not a good time. You might want to read it.
Not a good time, but that's why I said I'm just gonna pick favorites because I don't want to think too much. So I went Baltimore over Las Vegas in one of them, and then I have Kansas City taking the dub at home for the season opener versus the Bengals.
Okay. I like that. I mean, the Bengals did
Heavy
not
chalk,
show a lot of
but-
life. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And the Ravens, I'm just looking at their schedule here. I think this might honestly be one of the best spots to take them. They play in a tough division, the AFC North, not a lot of gimmies there. I think they got a game in December against the the Giants, and then they do play the Commanders at home in October. But I think this is a great spot as any to take the Ravens this year, going up against the Raiders. So a good pick there. And you're Mr. 2-0. So, I mean, I'm taking your advice at this point. You got both your entries alive. And I am with Justin and Ben. I'm on the Texans. I think this is a great spot schedule-wise to take them. Talked about the injuries earlier when we were giving out best bets. But I like the Texans. I've already seen Edgar. I know Ben's going to be on them in our podcast pool. So hopefully not too many other people are onto that in the podcast pool and are on the Texans. I don't think they're going to be the most used team. I think the most used team are going to be the Ravens this week. I think everyone's going to fade the Raiders. And we should see maybe like 20% or 30% of the pool on the Ravens. But yeah, no, I like those picks.
Any thoughts about possibly using, the Jets, who have a favorable matchup against the Titans, or the 49ers with that matchup against the Vikings, guys?
The 49ers, are they on the road or are they at home?
On the road against the Vikings.
Yeah, so I wouldn't want to use them on the road against the Vikings. I mean, that's a home crowd that can get going. And what was your other one? The 49ers or the Jets.
Jets.
And the Jets, I think we talked about it offline. I need to see them win a game first, honestly. With this new regime and Aaron Rodgers, he looked okay, not great. And I think they got a couple of decent spots, the rest of the year. The team does end up being good. They play the Cardinals on the road. They play the Patriots, who should be bad a couple times. So I think you can save the Jets, and hopefully they just get it done this week and show you that, they're going to be the team that everyone thought they were on paper.
I think the Eagles were probably going to be another popular pick Monday night against the Falcons. I don't know how much of a wrench A.J. Brown throws into that. I wouldn't feel super comfortable with the number one wide receiver out. I know the Falcons didn't look the greatest, right? But I'm not saving it for Monday night, probably passing on the Eagles. They do play the Giants and the Commanders 4 times this season, so there's going to be plenty of spots to be using the Eagles, in my opinion.
I like that. Ron, Justin, any other thoughts on Survivor Pool this week? Any thoughts on what Ben just said with the Eagles? Do you think they're a good spot, or are you shying away with A.J. Brown?
No, I think the Falcons looked so bad last week. I think that they are a good spot still, even without AJ, because there's weapons with Devontae and Saquon now.
Man, is Kirk washed? Ron, is Kirk washed, or
Achilles is looking?
Captain Kirk, man. Captain Kirk might strike again in Philadelphia. That's the only thing that kind of worries me over there, because you never know, dog. You never know. And then it's a Monday night game. You don't want to go through all Sunday, and then Survivor Pool comes around Monday, and you're like, son of a, I lost on the last day. And then you say everybody did take the Ravens, and the Ravens lose, right? And then you're like, okay, I have a chance. And then boom, Philly just goes down for you. So I would just kind of put pause.
Falcons drafting QB early, starting to look a little bit better for them.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing. I mean, even for Rodgers and Cousins, both with Achilles, and you saw them moving out of the pocket at all last week, it didn't look good at all. It looked like they were in cement, running with cinder blocks on their feet. Like, it didn't look good, bro. I'm a Wilson owner. Fuck, these lights are timed. I'm a Wilson owner. And I thought about shopping him around, throwing his name on the block, but I didn't want to seem too desperate. I'm gonna let it breathe a little bit, but it is a little worrisome the way these guys with the Achilles look in the pocket when they have to get out.
Yeah, the Jets, the thing that scares, I mean, it doesn't really scare me because I do think, Aaron Rodgers, I agree with you, didn't look so good moving out of the pocket, but the one difference between him and Kirk Cousins to me was it looked like Aaron Rodgers still had zip on the ball that he was throwing. Like it still looked good coming out of his arm. Like Kirk Cousins had no zip on the ball. He was throwing up ducks and hoping people could catch them. Like, it just didn't look good. And then the line wasn't giving him a lot of time. Rodgers, the thing that worries me a little bit, obviously the injuries that you just talked about, but I'm not a Nathaniel Hackett fan. I just don't. He's the offensive coordinator. I know he's their buddy, but I thought he played that game against the Bills ultra conservative almost every drive when the game was still in tow, when it mattered, before it got out of hand, and that's why you kind of got to throw the game away a little bit. But he started off ultra conservative. They were running the ball the first 2 plays a lot going in those first couple of drives. I thought they played it super conservative. I know they were trying to get Breece Hall going against the 49ers, but geez, like after the first 2 drives, you could tell the 49ers were hyped up. They weren't going to let Breece Hall get going like that. You got to switch it up, but it was too late. So Nathaniel Hackett, my only worry, but I still think Garrett Wilson should be a smash because Aaron Rodgers treats his wide receiver number ones really good. So
I'm just not. I'm out on Robert Saleh as well because he allowed the 49ers to abuse him on defense as well, and he's been. He was their coordinator. He practiced against that 49ers offense, and he had no answers, bro. So I think I'm out on that whole organization's structure with coaching at this point. Hackett, Saleh, not the dudes.
So you think it's another year for the Bills in the AFC East?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And I think even I predicted Josh Allen's trajectory to go down a little. Week 2, he didn't even have to do much to get that win. I mean, he had 111
yards points from Josh Allen.
Yeah, and they still got the W. So
easy dub.
Yeah.
It's crazy though, honestly, for the Bills. Like, the Jets for Super Bowl, they were a very popular futures pick in Vegas. The Dolphins are expected to win the division because they've been right under the Bills. And here are the Bills, bro, with Khalil Shakir at wide receiver. You know what I mean? And rookie Keon Coleman. It's crazy how the Bills are getting it done. Von Miller was finally fucking on the field. The Super Bowl window closes and now Von Miller's playing. Shit's crazy. I will say with Saleh, I didn't expect him to be getting that much heat. I thought he was one of the more respected coaches. Obviously, the previous defensive coordinator for the Niners prior to DeMeco Ryans, we saw DeMeco Ryans also get his head coaching job off of being, Kyle Shanahan's defensive coordinator. But he's definitely on the hot seat. The clock is ticking on him. I think we might see 2 new head coaches in New York next year.
Yeah, because I mean, you don't have Aaron Rodgers forever. The time is limited with Aaron Rodgers. You got to, capitalize on that window. Ron, any thoughts on what's going on with the Jets?
Nah, you just gotta wait and see it out. Breece Hall fumbled on his first possession, right? Or like his first
something
carry.
like that.
So Breece Hall isn't looking good. Somebody earlier in the chat said that they took him early. Still a lot of potential for him and that Jets offense. So
I think Jerry said he took him at 2.
It's too early to tell. Yeah, it's just.
And honestly, bro, it was the Niners. Like maybe they come out today and beat the shit out of the Titans, and we're like, all right, the Jets.
Yeah, and I mean, Will Levis is not it. I mean, we're talking about coaches going. I think Will Levis is going to have a short leash as a starting quarterback in this league. I don't think he's the guy. It was week 1. Maybe I'm getting it's a little too,
week 1 with like the best.
It's an immediate reaction.
Like they were up all game.
Yeah.
He fucked up the game, literally.
Yeah. The coach said that they were better off just, kneeling at every play, I think, instead of, passing it there in that second half.
That's wild for a coach to
say. But anyways, guys, it's 11:42 here on my count. We're getting close to noon. We're getting close
adjustments
to kickoff.
in the lineup.
Justin's shaking it off. We got to get ready, got to get warmed up for kickoff, got to get the screen set up, got to get the pit going. Fellas, it's been a good Sunday. Any parting shots as I get us ready to sign off here?
Good luck to Ben's Texans tonight. He's going to be in attendance. I'm always going to cheer for my friends, and I hope they win.
Yep.
Yeah, it's our survivor pick, guys. I promise I'm going to do my part to make sure that this survivor pick.
You said 5 false starts. I'm going to count. I need them.
Count it. And illegal formations don't count. I'm talking about false starts.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to have the volume up here so we can see we catch Ben there out in the crowd. But, guys, it's been a good Sunday. I'm ready to sign off. I know everyone here is ready to set their lineups, put in some last-minute stuff. As we talking about sports, it's been another Sunday, and